Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into a world of fire, rice, and mangoes, into the golden twilight of the Khmer Empire, where the royal kitchens of Angkor Wat stirred with more than just boiling stews. Here, beneath the towering stone faces and jungle tangles, food wasn't just survival, it was ceremony, authority, a kind of soft, steaming magic. And tonight, you're not just watching, you're part of it. You stand at the back of the royal kitchen, barefoot on polished sandstone still cool from the night. The sky is beginning to blush pink over the jungle canopy, and from behind the east towers of Angkor Wat, the sun peeks slowly like a shy child behind a doorframe. Smoke curls upward from clay chimneys shaped like lotus buds. There's the snap of kindling, the pop of rice chaff catching fire, and 100 whispers from kitchen hands moving like dancers, each in time with the routine carved from habit and hierarchy. You probably won't survive this kitchen. Not because it's dangerous, though the fire pits are hot and the chili paste could probably remove paint, but because the pace is relentless. The royal kitchen is a living beast, fed by discipline, muscle, and more types of rice than you thought possible. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as always, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it for you? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge forward, past steaming baskets and brass pots that glint like suns. One cook is pounding something in a stone mortar with the rhythm of a priest at a temple drum. Another is arranging star-shaped banana leaves into a tray like puzzle pieces, muttering about symmetry and sauce slippage. You're guided by an older kitchen attendant with a gait like a swaying mango tree and a voice as soft as boiled rice. He doesn't speak often, just points, nods, occasionally sighs. This is the dawn shift. The first meal of the day is the quietest, but it sets the tone. You're told it begins with fire, but not just any fire. There's a hearth reserved for sacred rice, always lit first, and only by a designated fire mother, whose job it is to bless the flame with a chant and a pinch of ground galangal. Historians still argue whether this morning ritual was symbolic or purely hygienic. Some believe it linked the kitchen to Vishnu's cosmic order, while others say it simply helped keep the rice from sticking. You move through the kitchen as the light strengthens. The architecture of this place is open. Stone walls carved with apsaras, shallow pools at the edges for cooling pots, and breeze windows that double as pigeon corridors. Pigeons are everywhere. They are not part of the menu. Usually, a senior cook offers you a taste of something. It's creamy, warm, subtly sweet. You ask what it is. Rice, young coconut, sugarcane juice, she says, flicking her wrist like she's throwing magic at the air. For the monks, always first. That's another rule. Monks first. Then the emperor. Then the dancers. Then everyone else. In the corner, 2 apprentice cooks are embroiled in a silent argument over how many mangoes are too many for morning chutney. One points aggressively at a sticky slab of tamarind paste, the other at a tray of not yet ripe fruit. You wisely step away. There's an elegant chaos to the room. Smoke curls into calligraphy, pots hiss like snakes, and everyone knows exactly where their elbows belong. If you pause, even for a second, Someone hands you something, a basket, a pestle, a clump of lemongrass, and says, "Smash this until you smell stars." You smash it. Stars appear. In the far back of the kitchen, there's a narrow hallway. No one goes there except the record keeper, an ancient scribe with hands like dried ginger root. He sits with stacks of palm leaf manuscripts, carefully copying recipes and ingredient logs. Some say he's memorized every royal meal since King Suryavarman II. Others say he's just a man who enjoys neat handwriting and sitting down. You peer over his shoulder and glimpse one recipe titled simply, "Soup for Offerings. Do not alter." There's a note in red ink beside it. Last time altered, King's eye twitched. Outside you hear a drum beat. 1, then 2. It's the temple call. Breakfast must be ready in 30 minutes. The pace quickens. Rice ladles fly. Herbs get chopped mid-air. One apprentice tosses shallot skins into a pot like confetti. You're swept into the flow, handed a tray of carved mango slices arranged like a blooming lotus. You are told, "Don't drop it, that's breakfast art." You carry it carefully through the corridor, across the courtyard, past dancers stretching beneath palm trees, and into the emperor's garden pavilion. He's not there. Not yet. But the table is set with ceramic bowls painted with elephants, and the aroma of cardamom hangs like a warm shawl. You place the tray. Step back. Exhale. Then you hear the first voice of the day, an older chef murmuring to herself as she arranges betel leaves. "Rice was fluffy today. That means good luck." You don't know if that's true, but you believe it. And as the temple gongs echo through the jungle, and the sun finally paints the kitchen golden, you find yourself thinking, this is more than cooking. This is memory, served warm. You're halfway through learning the proper way to wash tamarind. Hint: never with cold water, and always with apologies, when someone calls your name. Or rather, gestures at you and says something that could mean, you with the banana leaf face. You're summoned to the head of the kitchen court. Not the emperor's chef. He's busy meditating over a pot of porridge. But to the woman who actually keeps this whole fragrant circus in motion. Her name is Lady Feekday, and she doesn't walk so much as glide, her long silk robe whispering secrets as it brushes the tile. She holds a spoon. Not just any spoon. It's silver, curved oddly like a swan's neck, and tied to her wrist with red string. This is no ordinary utensil. That spoon, you're told in a reverent whisper by the apprentice standing beside you, is the taster's spoon. Only Lady Feekday uses it, and only for testing dishes meant for the emperor's personal bowl. It's been passed down through 5 generations of royal kitchens. Once, it was stolen. Once, it was hidden inside a jackfruit for safekeeping during a war. You decide not to touch it. Instead, you watch as Lady Feekday moves through the cooks like a gentle storm. She sniffs, stirs, corrects a leaf fold, raises one eyebrow at a poorly chopped chili. She doesn't shout. She doesn't need to. Her silence is louder than most parades. You're assigned to assist one of her sous chefs, a short, barrel-shaped man named Tom, who insists that every good curry starts with a shallot sliced so thin it feels ashamed. He hands you a knife. It's not bronze, not iron, just sharp enough to remind you to pay attention. Tom begins preparing a mock tray, the beloved fish curry baked in banana leaf cups. You peel the fish, delicately, like unwrapping a secret, and mix it with a paste of lemongrass, galangal, turmeric, and fermented fish sauce. The smell is assertive. Historians still argue whether Khmer royal kitchens really used prahok, fermented fish paste, in palace meals or saved it for commoners. Some scrolls hint it was reserved for festivals only, while others claim it was the emperor's favorite reminder of his childhood. You decide not to speculate. You just keep stirring. Tom hums a song about chilies and elephants. He wears a belt with tiny pouches containing dried herbs and, for some reason, a feather. You ask what the feather's for. To fan the fire, he says, or to tickle the apprentice who forgets to stir clockwise. Duly noted. You glance around the kitchen. Each cook has a specialty, a rhythm. One works only on rice, 5 varieties at once, each steamed with different herbs. Another shapes moon-shaped dumplings filled with pumpkin and sweet basil. A third is calmly sculpting a swan out of cucumber slices and daikon. You blink. When did that happen? There's no shouting here, just the occasional bang of a pot, the soft thunk of pestle against mortar, and the musical lilt of Khmer as orders are passed without stress. Somehow, everyone knows what everyone else is doing. It's not chaos. It's choreography. And yet, not all recipes are shared freely. Some are kept locked away, not in vaults, but in memory. Lady Fiachti has a small wooden box said to contain tokens of the 7 secret sauces. No one has seen her open it. One cook claims he once peeked inside and only saw a lotus petal and a slice of dried lime. You're not sure if he's joking. The cook's hierarchy is strict but not cruel. Apprentices graduate by mastering 6 dishes, not all at once, but in sequence. Fail the mango carving? Back to rice duty. Spill lemongrass broth? You're assigned to ash removal. One legend tells of an apprentice who made it to the final test, stew tempering, only to sneeze into the pot. He now tends fish ponds far from the palace. You chop silently, vowing not to sneeze. At midday, there's a short lull. Tom offers you a treat, a sticky rice ball filled with grated palm sugar and black sesame. You bite in. It's hot, chewy, a little nutty. Also slightly spicy. You blink. Why is it spicy? He grins. Because you forgot to rinse the knife. You smile. Fair. You return to your station and notice a young girl nearby preparing ceremonial betel leaves. She folds them into perfect triangles and places a red fruit atop each. You ask her who they're for. The dancers, she says, before their performance tonight. Keeps the tongue sharp and the breath fragrant. You chew on that. Later in the afternoon, a royal page arrives. There's a special request. The emperor has asked for the noodle dish that made his grandmother weep with joy. No one is quite sure which one that is. Panic is gently suppressed. Lady Fiachti doesn't flinch. Prepare all 3, she says. And just like that, the noodle fire is lit. You help prep the ingredients. Jasmine noodles rolled by hand, fried shallots crisped with lime peel, and a sauce that takes 3 hours to simmer, during which it must be stirred exactly 99 times. Someone starts counting. You glance again at the spoon tied to Lady Fiachti's wrist. She hasn't used it yet today. It dangles like a quiet promise, and just as the noodles reach peak silkiness, she moves. One scoop, one taste. She nods. That's all it takes. And everyone exhales. You're up to your elbows in rice husks when the gong sounds again, this time softer, slower, almost ceremonial. Tom straightens his back, wipes his hands on a cloth that looks older than the empire itself, and says, "Sacred fire pit time." The words settle like steam. You follow the cooks as they gather in the courtyard's eastern wing, where the floor tiles are blackened by centuries of ash. At its center is a low, circular hearth ringed with smooth stone. No one speaks above a murmur. This is the first flame, not used for frying or boiling or browning, but for sanctifying. Only one woman may light it. She's called the Fire Mother, and she moves with the calm authority of someone who's seen 10 emperors eat too much chili and live to regret it. Her gray hair is woven with small red blossoms. Her feet are bare. Her eyes sharp. She holds a small bundle of dried lemongrass and lotus root bound in banana leaf and places it on the ash like an offering. Then she hums. It's not a song so much as a tone, rising, falling, like breath through bamboo. A spark, a puff, and the fire is born. Historians still argue whether this ritual was tied to Hindu cosmology, Agni, the fire deity, or a remnant of older animist beliefs. Some suggest it was simply a clever way to structure the kitchen's pace. But as the flame curls up, dancing with saffron-colored smoke, it feels older than explanation. The cooks begin feeding the fire with small sticks of sugarcane bark and slivers of tamarind wood, not just for fuel, but for flavor. The smoke is meant to linger in the rice, to sweeten the belly before sour touches the tongue. You look around. No one eats yet. No one even prepares plates. Instead, they sit, cross-legged, back straight, as the fire burns. Tom whispers to you, "This is where we remember our first taste." He means it literally. Every cook in the royal kitchen must, at least once a year, sit by this fire and recite aloud the first dish they remember loving. The Fire Mother records each on palm leaves, which are then sealed in a wooden scroll box kept in the archives. You listen. Fish head stew with star fruit. Sticky rice eaten from my grandmother's lap. Mango, stolen. Pickled lotus root that made me cry. Your turn comes. You say, "Ginger soup I thought was too spicy, but drank anyway." There's a small nod from the Fire Mother. That's all you get, and all you need. After the fire settles into a low burn, bowls are brought. Not for the emperor, not for the dancers, but for the kitchen itself. You're given a bowl of rice, steamed above the sacred flame, flavored with just a whisper of lemongrass and salt. It's the simplest thing you've tasted all day, and the best. Beside you, Tom eats his with 2 fingers. "Sacred rice is like memory," he says. "It sticks." Then he sneezes. Someone across the hearth chuckles softly. "Again?" they say. Tom wipes his nose. "Every year. Lemongrass vengeance." The fire is covered gently with a clay lid, and the cooks drift back to their stations. Slower now, quieter. It's not reverence exactly. It's digestion, spiritual and literal. You wander back to the kitchens and find Nari, the youngest apprentice, scraping rice stuck to a pot with a tool shaped like a miniature paddle. She's humming the same tone the fire mother used. You ask if she knows the meaning. No, she says, but it feels warm in the throat. Later, Lady Fiakdi summons you to help with a tray for the temple priest. The offering: one bowl of sacred rice, one slice of mango dried over jackfruit wood, one clay cup of lotus tea. The tray is placed on a folded cloth embroidered with flame motifs. You walk it to the temple gate yourself. Along the way, a dancer passes you, nods, and says, "Rice first, then balance." You nod like you understand. You don't. Not yet. Back in the kitchen, the work resumes. More chopping, more pounding, more hushed arguments over sourness versus saltiness. You notice the fire mother again, sitting by a water basin, peeling ginger into paper-thin spirals. Her eyes are closed. She's humming something different now. Lower, slower. Like a lullaby to the coals. And it hits you. This kitchen is more than a workplace. It's a rhythm, a belief, a song sung in turmeric and fire. And you're learning the verses. One sticky grain at a time. You're asked to refill the coconut water. Seems simple enough. Until you learn that in the royal kitchen, coconut water isn't just a drink. It's a classification system, a mild obsession, and, in at least one case, the reason a sous chef was once reassigned to banana duty for a week. You're handed a brass bowl with 3 spouts, shaped like the heads of Nagas, the mythical serpents who guard Khmer temples. Each spout is labeled, in flowing Khmer script and little symbols, one with a sun, one with a moon, and one with a fish. You look confused. Tom chuckles. Sun coconut is young and sweet. Moon coconut is aged and rich. Fish coconut is for cooking only. Don't drink that one unless you want your tongue to shrivel. You choose carefully. The kitchen's coconut keeper, a teen with biceps shaped entirely by cleaving, hands you a freshly hacked fruit. He scoops out the top, sniffs it, declares it sun-kissed, and pours the water into your bowl. The coconut's flesh will be used later, likely grated and turned into a kind of custard that looks like a cloud but bites back with chili. As you carry the Naga bowl toward the dessert station, you pass an older cook brushing rice noodles with oil infused with lemongrass and something slightly smoky. She hums a tune that sounds suspiciously like a lullaby. Then someone trips. A small boy carrying a tray of green bananas stumbles forward, sending the fruit tumbling across the polished stone. One banana skids under a low table, disappears. Silence follows. No one yells. No one scolds. Instead, a cook calmly retrieves the fruit, wipes it clean, and offers the boy a slice of mango. "Sometimes," he says, "gravity is hungry." You grin. Tom tells you that's Chef Jorani, widely considered the kindest man in the kitchen, and also the most feared, because he's the only one who remembers every mistake anyone's ever made. Jorani is in charge of banana leaves. Not bananas, the leaves. Because in the Khmer royal kitchen, presentation is not optional. It's practically divine. You learn that banana leaves are not just wrappers. They're texture, flavor, plate, protection, sometimes even documentation. Different folds indicate different dishes. A pinch on the top corner? That means there's something spicy inside. A twist on the left edge? Dessert. Always dessert. You're given a folding lesson. Step 1. Cut to the width of your palm. Step 2. Fold inward like a letter. Step 3. Place a dot of coconut oil in the center. Step 4. Pray the oil doesn't leak. Your first few attempts look like crumpled birds. One leaf splits. Another folds into something that resembles a sad hat. Chef Jorani watches with gentle amusement. He takes your leaf, folds it once, twice, a flick of the wrist, and there it is. A perfect triangle, tight as a seal, aromatic with intention. Folding is memory, he says. If you fold it wrong, the dish forgets its shape. You do not argue. Meanwhile, the scent of fish sauce and toasted sesame drifts from the east wing of the kitchen. That's where the sauces are made, over low flame, stirred constantly, and tasted every 6 minutes by a dedicated taster known only as the tongue. You've yet to meet them. The sauce station is guarded like a treasury. Recipes are not written. Ingredients are measured in heartbeats and looks. Once, a visiting dignitary asked for the recipe to the emperor's favorite tamarind lime dressing. Lady Fiacde smiled, nodded, and handed him a recipe that turned out to be for foot salve. Diplomatic incident narrowly avoided. Historians still argue whether the secrecy was born of royal paranoia or just kitchen pride. Some believe it was a way to protect national identity. Others suspect it was simply because no one really knew exact measurements. They just felt the flavor. In the back corner, you spot a mortar carved with images of tigers and dancers. Inside, a paste the color of gold is being pounded slowly with a pestle the size of your forearm. You ask what it is. Curry base, someone says. The golden one. You lean in. It smells like morning and thunder and dreams. Lemongrass, kaffir lime, roasted shallots. A touch of sugar burned just enough to smell like caramel and danger. Your stomach growls, loudly. Someone hands you a lotus stem. Chew on this, they suggest. It's oddly cooling and distracting. You're called to help prepare the dessert station. Today, they're making num ansam, sweet sticky rice wrapped in banana leaf, shaped like small pyramids. The filling is mung bean paste mixed with coconut milk and a single pinch of salt. You learn to tie the bundles with strips of dried palm leaf. Not too tight or the rice bursts. Not too loose or the filling escapes. A cook near you mutters, "Rice always wants to run away." You nod solemnly. Rice is clearly a metaphor for something. By mid-afternoon, the dessert table looks like a garden. Rows of green-wrapped triangles, bowls of shaved ice, dishes of jackfruit jam, and a carved melon that now resembles a grumpy tiger. The emperor has a sweet tooth, you're told, but only in odd-numbered portions. So the desserts are arranged. 3 rice pyramids, 5 mango slices, 7 sesame balls. You don't ask why, you just fold. And breathe. And try to remember. Fold from the left, twist the top, smile at the leaf so it behaves. Just like the cooks do. Just like the dish remembers. You're sweeping sesame seeds off a banana leaf platter when the word tamarind echoes across the courtyard like a tiny, edible thunderclap. It's the sauce crew again, mid-argument, mid-boil, and fully committed to a disagreement that has likely been ongoing for generations. One cook insists the tamarind pulp must be soaked in rainwater collected before sunrise. Another says it's fine as long as it's stirred with a stick from a jackfruit tree. A third mutters something about adding a single star anise just to make the spirits curious. You're handed a ladle. Stir, they say. Slowly, like you're lulling a baby elephant. You oblige, watching the dark tamarind syrup shimmer in the low flame. The scent is sour, earthy, and oddly comforting, like forgotten fruit and temple walls. The royal kitchen's relationship with tamarind is complicated. Used in everything from sauces to candies to ceremonial broths, it's as essential as rice, but far more moody. Historians still argue whether Khmer cooks learned to ferment tamarind from Indian traders or developed their own method via jungle wisdom and a lot of trial and sticky error. You learn 3 things about tamarind right away. 1. Always remove the seeds, even if it means swearing under your breath. 2. Never boil it directly. That offends the flavor. 3. Never, ever ask what happened to the last apprentice who asked if tamarind could be replaced with lime. Back at the prep station, Chef Jirani is carving mango again, slicing it into strips so thin you could read temple poems through them. He holds one up to the light, nods, then frowns. Too emotional, he says, and eats it. You ask him to explain. Mango must be confident, not weeping. You nod like that makes sense. It probably does. There's a mango inspection scheduled today? You're not kidding. Each week, a delivery of mangoes arrives from a royal orchard tended by monks. These aren't ordinary fruits. They're sung to at sunrise, bathed in coconut mist, picked under very specific moon phases. But even so, mangoes can cause drama. The last inspection was a disaster. Half the fruits were too soft, one had a blemish shaped like a crab, and one, mysteriously, was hollow. No one speaks of that day. Lady Fiakti oversees today's batch. She selects a mango, weighs it in her hand, sniffs it, then slices off the top quarter with the spoon still tied to her wrist. The cut is perfect. The color is golden. She nods. The kitchen breathes again. Then comes the tray preparation. Mango slices are arranged in overlapping spirals, like snake scales. Beside them, sweet rice dyed blue with butterfly pea flour. It looks like a painting. A very edible, very expensive painting. You're told the emperor eats mango only after reciting a mantra. It's not for digestion, it's for gratitude. The mango, after all, was once a gift from the gods. Or so the old stories say. One tale claims the first Khmer king was born from a mango pit that landed in a pool of moonlight. Another says mangoes were once so rare that kings traded them for horses. You glance around the kitchen. Today there are crates of them. You ask why so many. Tom shrugs. For the dancers, mango makes the feet remember the beat. You're not sure if that's poetic or actual medical advice. Outside, the dancers are stretching beneath silk awnings. Their arms move like vines. Their fingers curl like flame. Every so often, one glances toward the kitchen, as if waiting. You're told that during certain festivals, dancers perform holding small mango slices between their fingers. It's an offering, a balance test, and a reward all in one. But back to tamarind, back to... The sauce is nearly ready. You're tasked with finishing it by adding a single flower, not just any flower. A Dak Champa, frangipani, known for its sweet, sleepy scent. You float it on the surface. It curls slightly, soaking in the warm, sticky syrup. Someone behind you exhales. Perfect. The sauce is ladled into small ceramic pots shaped like elephants. Their trunks are hollow, designed to pour just the right amount. These go directly to the emperor's pavilion, alongside grilled river fish, pickled cucumber, and rice infused with pandan leaf. One of the dancers bows her head slightly as the tray passes. Respect, not hunger. Back in the kitchen, the mango argument starts again. This time, it's about shape. Fan shape is more elegant, one cook says. No, another replies. Tower shape shows strength. You offer a neutral suggestion. Spiral. They look at you, then at each other, then at the mango. A spiral it is. You help arrange them, golden slices, one by one, until the tray looks like a blooming sun. You step back. The scent is hypnotic. The kitchen hums. And for just a moment, it's not about royalty or rituals. It's about fruit. Bright, sweet, alive, and shaped with care. You're jolted from mango meditation by the clatter of bronze bowls, stacked high, nearly toppling. A wiry man with wild eyebrows and a voice like crunching leaves is muttering something about missing curry leaves and ungrateful mortar spirits. You're introduced to him as Chef Vanak. His specialty? Curries. Specifically, the royal kind, known simply as golden bowls. Not because of the container, though those are polished brass, but because of the flavor. Rich, deep, layered like temple carvings. You're assigned to him for the afternoon. First rule, he says, holding up a finger still stained yellow from turmeric. A curry doesn't begin in a pot. It begins in the garden. He drags you behind the kitchen, where a sloping patch of earth hides a secret. The royal herb beds. You duck beneath frangipani trees and bamboo thickets, past drying racks strung with lime peel, until you reach it. The royal herb garden. No grand gate. No guard. Just scent. Glorious, overwhelming scent. Basil sharp as a trumpet note. Coriander with hints of citrus. Kaffir lime leaves that, when crushed, smell like rain on marble. And the elusive wild curry leaf, which Vanak plucks like he's stealing fire from heaven. Historians still argue whether this garden was tended directly by cooks or by a special guild of scent masters. Some records describe them as monks with trained noses. Others insist it was all just Tom in a hat. Back in the kitchen, Vanek assembles his crew, one to pound, one to stir, one to taste, and you to fan the fire. That's not a metaphor. You're handed a palm leaf fan, wide as a turtle shell. Your job: keep the flame steady beneath the curry pot without letting it roar. Vanak believes in a whispering boil, not a bubbling tantrum. He begins with oil, poured from a jar labeled with a single painted flame. Then come the spices: turmeric, galangal, chili, shallots roasted till they collapse, a paste of lemongrass and ginger so fragrant your eyes water from something that might be joy. The air thickens. Time slows. Someone plays a two-note melody on a clay flute. Vanak adds river prawns, peeled by hand. Coconut milk, pressed from fruit harvested at dawn, joins the party. Then, finally, the wild curry leaves, torn just before being dropped in. The result? A smell that makes your shoulders relax. But Vanak isn't done. He ladles a bit into a bowl and hands it to you. Taste. Then tell me a color. You blink. A color? Yes. Curry must match memory. You sip. It's warm, complex. Sweet at first, then tangy, with a slow spice that curls like incense. Amber, you say. He grins. Good. Last week someone said beige. They're on rice duty now. You finish the bowl, every drop. Then he hands you a new task, prepping lotus root. It looks like a wheel of pale coins, pocked with tiny holes. Sliced thin, it crisps when fried, softens when simmered. It absorbs flavor like gossip in a small village. You clean it gently, whispering apologies as you go, just in case the kitchen spirits are listening. And speaking of spirits, Chef Jirani appears at your elbow holding a jar of fermented pineapple vinegar. For the dancers, he says. Sharpens the balance. You nod. It's a phrase you've come to accept without question. You pour a dash of the vinegar into a side sauce. It sizzles. The aroma rises. Sweet, acidic, ancient. In the next station, young Nari is making pickled green mango. She stirs slowly, eyes unfocused, repeating the proportions under her breath. 1 salt, 2 sugar, 3 sleep. You ask what 3 sleep means. She shrugs. How long you let it rest before it's ready? Makes sense. As the curry thickens, Vanak starts chanting. Softly. It's not religious, more rhythmic. A chant to the curry, perhaps. Or to time. Or just to keep the apprentices from falling asleep. The chant includes lines like, chili for fire, coconut for moon, river prawn swims, and garlic swoons. You wonder if you're dreaming. You're not. You're just in it now. The bowl of golden curry is finally finished and poured into dishes shaped like lotus petals. Each dish gets 1 bright chili sliver and a tiny mint leaf placed diagonally. It's not garnish. It's punctuation. A final flourish. The trays are prepared and whisked away. You follow them with your eyes, not wanting to blink. It smells like dinner. It smells like story. And as the light begins to soften through the high windows, turning the walls a dusty rose, Chef Vanak pats your shoulder. You've done well, he says. Tomorrow, maybe we teach you to chew the right way. You smile. But also, what does that mean? You're still puzzling over the concept of chewing the right way when the bell for evening prep chimes. 3 soft gongs that seem to roll along the kitchen walls like steam on stone. Night is falling, which, in the royal kitchen, means it's time to begin breakfast. Yes, breakfast. Not for you, not even for the emperor, for the monks. A quiet procession of saffron robes arrives at the palace gate before dawn each day, and Khmer tradition holds that the royal kitchen must provide their morning meal. Humble, yes, but also balanced, respectful, and, above all, warm. You're assigned to the monk prep team. They work in near silence, communicating with nods and eyebrow lifts. The team lead is a woman named Sim, who wears a string of lotus beads and smiles like a secret. Your first task? Rice porridge. Not congee, not gruel. Something lighter, gentler. It begins with fragrant rice soaked in pandan water, then slowly simmered until it thickens just enough to coat a spoon, but never clings. The goal, Sim says, is cloud texture. You stir, and stir, and stir. Like listening, she says. No rushing. She adds tiny flecks of dried mushroom, crushed coriander seeds, a touch of coconut milk, just for softness, and one slice of ginger shaped like a coin. Sim then prepares the accompanying side dishes, sautéed morning glory with garlic, pickled radish, and a boiled duck egg, with a yolk the color of early sun. The egg is cracked open with a tiny silver spoon carved like a swan, because of course it is. Historians still argue whether royal kitchens offered these monk meals as acts of pure piety or subtle performance. Some scholars point out the meals were often displayed before being delivered, almost like quiet culinary theater. But in this moment, no one seems theatrical. Everything is peaceful. You help plate the porridge in simple clay bowls. No patterns, no gold rims, just warmth. Each is garnished with a sprig of green onion placed at exactly 45 degrees. No one says why. You don't ask. The trays are arranged and carried, barefoot, to the gate. You watch from the shadows as the orange-robed monks receive them. One bows. Another smiles softly. A third simply closes his eyes, as if listening to the steam. Back inside, you're tasked with the final cleansing of the prep stones. These aren't just any stones. They're smooth slabs used for grinding herbs and roots into paste. At the end of each day, they must be washed with a mix of lime juice, salt water, and basil leaf tea. Why? To clear yesterday's flavor, Sim says, so tomorrow doesn't argue with it. You scrub. The scent is tangy and fresh, and strangely calming. As you finish, you notice Tom placing tiny covered bowls on a side table, one for each cook. Inside each, a single spoonful of a random sauce made that day, a drop of curry, a smear of tamarind, a sliver of mango paste. Why? A memory bite, he explains, to take home. Not literally home, more like emotionally. You taste yours. It's a green chili paste with a coconut base. It's sharp, then sweet, then, somehow, a little like thunder. You nod. That's what the day felt like. You clean your hands in a bowl of water scented with orange blossom. This isn't luxury. It's tradition. One scroll in the archive says that if your hands smell pleasant, your thoughts will follow. Not a bad theory. You help gather the banana leaves for compost. You wipe the counters with cloths soaked in ginger tea. You hear someone humming again. Same melody. Low, steady, like the simmering of rice. Then comes the moment of quiet. The fire pits are covered. The pestles are stacked. The knives are laid on a cloth like sleeping pets. And for a moment, the kitchen goes still. Except for one thing, the sound of water boiling, very softly, in a hidden corner, where a pot of lotus broth simmers through the night. For the emperor's late dreams, they say. You don't touch it. You don't even step close. But you smell it. Floral. Sweet. With something earthy at the bottom. Maybe root. Maybe thyme. You take a breath. And just as you turn to leave, Chef Girani hands you something wrapped in a banana leaf. A dream snack, he says. Eat it before bed, or don't. Either way, you'll sleep full. You smile, tuck it into your sash, and walk quietly past the extinguished hearth. The kitchen sleeps now, but the flavors, they linger. You return just before sunrise, because in the Khmer royal kitchen, sleep is something that happens to other people. The courtyard glistens with dew. The stone tiles are cool underfoot. Somewhere, a bird begins to sing a tune that sounds suspiciously like a soup recipe. You're handed a warm cloth scented with kaffir lime to wipe your face, followed by a small cup of pandan tea that tastes like green silk. You sip, and then it begins again. Today, you've been invited, assigned, to help with the carving station. You think this might mean meats or roasts. It does not. It means fruit sculpture. Big mistake, assuming this would be easier. You meet Chenda, the master carver. She looks like she hasn't blinked since the last solstice. Her knives are tiny, curved, and terrifying. Her subject today? A papaya. She begins with a small triangle cut at the top. Then, with movements so delicate they feel like breath, she turns the orange fruit into an explosion of petals. It's hypnotic. Papaya, she says, is stubborn, but predictable. You're handed a carrot. She gestures. Swan. You laugh. She doesn't. So you carve. Sort of. Your swan looks like a disgruntled gourd with a neck problem. Chenda says nothing, just sets it beside the others, where it will likely be accidentally dropped later. Still, you persist. There's a reason the royal kitchen takes carving seriously. It's not just for beauty. Each carved piece tells a story. Lotus petals represent enlightenment, spiral cucumbers signify eternal prosperity, and the rarest, interlocking pineapple scales, are said to invite rain. Historians still argue whether these meanings came from ancient texts or just very poetic cooks. One tablet found near Angkor's eastern gate suggests a banquet centerpiece once saved a marriage. You wouldn't be surprised. Next comes the melon. Chenda hands you a perfectly round cantaloupe and says, Angkor sunrise. You stare. She sighs and begins herself. Within minutes, the fruit has been transformed into a spiked wheel radiating outward, its seeds arranged like tiny suns. It's too beautiful to eat, so naturally it will be sliced later and served with fish. You ask why fish and melon go together. Tom passes by and quips, to confuse the stomach into respect. You believe him. You move to assist with the display trays. Each fruit sculpture is set into banana leaf boats, accented with carved chili flowers and strings of jasmine. Not for flavor, just for mood. Mood is important. Lady Fiacde arrives to inspect. She lifts a carved pineapple, examines the curl of its petals, then mutters, "Last year's had more ambition." No one breathes until she walks away. Then someone whispers, "At least she didn't say timid." That, apparently, is the worst. Mid-morning arrives. A messenger appears from the Emperor's pavilion. The Emperor, it seems, would like a lion. A fruit lion. By lunchtime. No one blinks. Chenda just nods. You watch as she selects a watermelon for the body, 2 mangoes for the haunches, coconut shell fragments for the claws, and jackfruit seeds for the eyes. You, meanwhile, are given the tail. You shape it out of thinly sliced guava, twisted into a spiral, and held in place with lemongrass skewers. It's the best thing you've made all week. Probably the only thing that won't be quietly buried near the compost heap. By noon, the lion is complete. It's noble, slightly terrifying, regal in a way only fruit can be when arranged by people who have turned slicing into an art form. The tray is carried away by 4 dancers in ceremonial robes. One turns to wink at you. "We eat the main first," she says. You're not sure if that's symbolic or just crunchy. Lunch prep begins, but you're still on carving duty. So you help make edible fans out of thin mango slices and banana blossom. These will accompany a cold noodle dish that Lady Fiacde claims helps her think faster. You doubt anything could make her faster. Then comes the petal salad. It's a royal favorite. Edible flowers tossed with shredded green mango, fish sauce, and roasted rice powder. The flowers, roselle, butterfly pea, banana blossom, are picked just before serving, because wilting is not allowed emotionally or otherwise. As you plate the salad, you notice something. Everyone's moving slower, not from laziness, from rhythm. There's a midday pause in the chaos, a kind of graceful coasting, like the kitchen itself is breathing in before it exhales again. Someone begins to sing, softly, a lullaby about a wandering tiger and a clever cook. You hum along, until Chenda reappears and hands you another carrot. This time she says nothing, but you swear the curve of her mouth looks suspiciously like approval. A drumbeat echoes from the far pavilion, not loud, not urgent, just one slow boom. And that can only mean one thing: noodle hour. Every 5th day, by decree of someone long dead but strangely persuasive, the royal kitchen devotes an afternoon to the delicate construction of Khmer noodle dishes. These aren't your quick bowl of midnight noodles. These are regal, ribboned, occasionally poetic. Noodles meant to be admired before devoured. You're led to a courtyard shaded by palm fronds and fluttering red banners. There, beneath a linen canopy, sits the noodle matron, Auntie Peu. She's at least 80, has 8 silver hairpins, and is rumored to have once outcooked 3 Chinese emissaries in a dumpling duel. You believe it immediately. Today, you'll be helping her make num bon chok, cold fermented rice noodles served with a herbal green sauce so complex it allegedly caused a poet to abandon rhyming altogether. Your first task is the noodle press. The dough has already been made. Rice soaked for 3 days, ground to a paste, and fermented just enough to make it smell slightly like thunder. You load it into a heavy bronze contraption shaped like an elephant, and push, slowly, until pale threads snake out into a steaming pot of water. The noodles cook in seconds, swirl once, then lift themselves into spirals as if they've done this for centuries. You fish them out with a basket carved from bamboo and set them to cool on banana leaves brushed with lime. Now comes the green sauce. Auntie Peyu has been grinding herbs for over an hour. Lemongrass, turmeric, garlic, galangal, kaffir lime rind, green chili, wild coriander, and something that smells like fresh rain and deep jungle. She stirs the paste into coconut milk and simmers it down to a satin sheen. You taste. It's everything. Warm, tart, herbal, almost floral, with a hint of bitterness that hits like a well-timed proverb. Auntie nods. If your tongue argues, it's working. She assembles the bowls, a delicate mound of noodles, draped with the green curry sauce, topped with banana blossom shreds, basil leaves, and, of course, 3 edible flowers. Always 3, never 2. You ask why. Balance, she replies. 2 flowers might flirt. 3 commit. Fair enough. A tray of finished dishes is carried away by a line of dancers in silken blue. They'll serve these to court poets and musicians, who must stay hydrated and inspired. As the kitchen quiets, Auntie Peyu begins her true art. Saucecraft. You're invited to assist. Barely. She lays out her collection of secret sauces, stored in pots shaped like birds. One smells of roasted garlic and pineapple, another like tamarind and smoke. She lets you taste only one. You choose a small jar marked with a red swirl. It tastes like fire trapped in sugar. Chili jam. She raises an eyebrow, pleased. Bravery, she says. Or foolishness. Either way, good for the digestion. You help her prepare the sauce for tomorrow's imperial soup. It includes fermented fish paste, prahok, palm sugar, crushed rice crackers, and a squeeze of green orange. Historians still argue whether the addition of orange was a local innovation or a happy accident involving an overly curious fruit bat. Either way, it works. Just then, a minor commotion breaks out near the pickling station. Apparently, someone swapped the labels on the pickled bamboo shoots and the lotus stems. The result? A mildly offended court musician and a diplomatic apology made in radish slices. You're tasked with reorganizing the pickle jars. As you work, you learn about the flavor compass used by Khmer chefs. North is sour, south is sweet, east is salty, west is bitter. Dishes are constructed not only to please the tongue, but to orient the spirit. You ask what happens if a dish points southwest. Tom passes by and murmurs, "You'll fall in love with someone you shouldn't. Probably best to stay due east today." As the sun dips, you're given a final noodle-related task. Noodle flowers. These are made by wrapping long, cooled strands of rice noodle into rosette shapes and placing them beside bowls of sauce as edible garnishes. They're pretty, they're slippery, they're maddening. Yours look more like sea slugs than blossoms. But Auntie Peyu glances at them, shrugs, and says, "Well, even slugs get hungry." You beam with pride. The noodle feast winds down. Empty bowls are stacked. The last threads of lemongrass steam curl into the dusk air. Someone begins humming the noodle song. Yes, there is one. Its chorus goes something like, "Pull it long, don't let it snap. Twist it tight, give sauce a nap." You hum along as you help clean. The courtyard glows with lanterns now. Fireflies drift near the herb garden. You feel sticky, tired, and oddly proud of your limp noodle flowers. Tomorrow brings soup. But for now, the kitchen rests in quiet satisfaction, full of slurped praise and sauce-stained joy. You're wiping down a table with tamarind husk cloth when Chef Jirani appears holding something that looks like a coconut, with a secret. It's actually a coconut drum, hollowed out and polished to a sheen, used only once a week for a very particular reason: testing sauces. Today is sauce testing day. This is no joke. Every week, the Royal Kitchen conducts a ceremonial taste panel, complete with dancers, musicians, and one silent monk whose only job is to nod if the flavor pleases the ancestors. You're not sure how the monk knows, but no one questions him. The most important contestant? Khmer fish sauce. Known locally as tuk tray, this isn't the bottle you find in the back of your fridge. This is the Emperor's blend, fermented in clay pots for months, aged under specific stars, and stirred with a stick carved from moonlight wood. Okay, maybe not actual moonlight, but close. You're told the tasting involves 5 versions. All of them look similar. All smell powerful. You sit cross-legged beside the sauce testers, each armed with a ceramic spoon and a sliver of unseasoned rice cake. You watch the monk. He tries the first spoonful, blinks slowly. Nothing. Second one. He exhales through his nose. Better. Third. His eyebrow lifts. Then the fourth. He closes his eyes. And on the 5th, he hums. Soft, long, content. Everyone exhales. That's the winner. The sauce will be paired with noble noodles, yes, but also something you haven't yet tried. Crispy lotus root chips. You assist with prep. Thin slices of lotus root, soaked in salt water, then sun-dried for a half-hour before being flash-fried in coconut oil. They puff slightly at the edges and curl like sleepy commas. Each one is dipped into the sauce and, if you're lucky, topped with a tiny chili coin. Snack? Yes. Spiritual alignment tool? Also yes. You crunch one and immediately taste salt, smoke, depth, and time. Like eating the memory of a pond during the dry season. Then comes a special challenge. You're asked to create your own sauce. Wait, you? Tom hands you a mixing bowl and 5 ingredients: palm sugar, lime juice, fish sauce, chili flakes, grated green papaya. He says, balance it like a story. Start sweet, end with heat. You stir, taste, adjust, stir again. The final product isn't bad. Jirani tastes it, tilts his head, then says, tastes like someone who used to be shy but now owns a parrot. You take that as a compliment. The sauce is added to a plate of charred eggplant, slow roasted over palm fronds and peeled by hand while still warm. The flesh is soft and smoky, the perfect vehicle for your introvert parrot sauce. Evening creeps in. A breeze drifts through the open corridors. You hear the rustle of silk from passing dancers, and someone somewhere is singing a song about stolen mangoes and noble heartbreak. You help prepare beetle wraps next, chewing snacks for the elders. These are assembled like tiny flavor parcels. Beetle leaf, a smear of fermented shrimp paste, a pinch of coconut sugar, slivered shallot, and crushed peanut. Folded like envelopes, served with tea. The elders say chewing these helps them remember old poems and spot liars. Again, you don't ask. One elder, chewing thoughtfully, points at your rice cake spoon and says, "You stir like a librarian." You're still unsure if this is praise. Jirani waves you over for the sauce ceremony finale. You help him arrange 7 bowls in a circle, each containing a different dipping sauce. Sweet tamarind, spicy pineapple, sour pickled lime, roasted sesame, fresh green chili, black garlic, and finally, a rare treat, fermented starfruit with honey. These are presented on a lotus-shaped tray and carried into the emperor's dining hall, where no one speaks for the first 5 minutes of tasting. Only eyebrow communication is permitted. You're not allowed in. But you hear later that the emperor smiled. Twice. A record. The rest of the night drifts by in a soft cloud of washing bowls, folding banana leaves, and dousing the fire pits with ginger water. You help scrub a wok with dried bamboo fiber and lemon peel. The smell is divine. You ask Tom how long he's worked here. "Since I was shorter than a chili plant," he says. "Now I'm just spicier." The last task is to wipe the stone sauce boards, flat grinding stones used for crushing pastes. They are cleaned not with water but with rice flour and lemongrass, then laid under moonlight overnight to reset. Because sometimes, even stones need rest. You step back and admire the calm. The trays are polished, the knives are sheathed, the sauces are sleeping. So are you, almost. But not before tasting one last lotus chip dipped in the sauce you made. It tastes different now, like it knows what you've learned, and approves. Morning arrives in layers. First, with the scent of smoke, then, with the gentle thump of pestles against stone. And finally, the smell that always means royal breakfast soup. You are beckoned, bleary-eyed and banana leaf blanketed, to the broth station. Today's masterpiece? Lotus root and river crab soup, reserved for the emperor's pre-dawn reflection. This dish isn't just food. It's diplomacy, mood stabilizer, and occasionally love letter, depending on the garnish. Chef Dara is in charge. He's tall, silent, and smells faintly of smoked cinnamon. He communicates mostly in grunts and the occasional pointed nod. You are assigned to root washing, a deceptively complex task involving slicing lotus roots thin enough to reveal their delicate holes, then brushing each with vinegar to preserve their ivory color. Dara's first pot of broth begins not with water, but with rice rinse water, the cloudy liquid saved from yesterday's rice soaking. It's said to soften flavors and make vegetables feel more heard. You add chopped lemongrass, bruised galangal, wild lime leaves, and a splash of fermented crab juice that smells like a promise and a threat. The broth simmers slowly, whispering secrets only it understands. The crabs are next, not the angry red ones you're used to seeing in modern tanks, but slender, speckled river crabs caught hours ago. They are cleaned delicately, each with a dedicated bamboo brush. Historians still argue whether crabs were symbolic offerings or merely tasty bystanders in the Khmer royal diet. Some texts describe them as walking fortune tellers. Others just note, makes soup richer. The crabs are simmered whole, then strained out once they've whispered all their flavor into the broth. Only the essence remains. You taste a spoonful. It's graceful, like sipping a quiet thought. Mildly sweet from lotus, gently tangy from tamarind, and rounded by the earthy background hum of wild coriander. The bowls used for this dish are always round, pale green, and slightly imperfect, on purpose. Perfect bowls make the emperor anxious, Dara says. Imperfect ones remind him he's human. As the soup finishes, you help prepare the side condiments. Crushed roasted rice, for texture. Sliced green banana, yes, green, crunchy, not sweet. Chili jam, for the daring. Pickled shallots, to confuse the tongue just enough. Each condiment is presented in a separate ceramic leaf. The soup is carried out in silence, accompanied by a bamboo flute. Not because it's required, it just feels right. Back in the kitchen, you find yourself helping with something unexpected. The ink pantry. Tucked behind the spice wall, this is where food-safe dyes and inks are made, from plants, barks, and sometimes crushed minerals. Why? For marking ceremonial rice cakes, of course. You're handed a paste made from indigo leaf, used to stamp a stylized sun symbol onto a flat cake of sticky rice filled with mung bean paste and dusted with sesame. The cakes are made for the upcoming Rice Day festival, honoring the spirit of agriculture. Each stamp represents a hope: rain, peace, a polite harvest, and fewer ants this year. While stamping, you learn the kitchen has its own unspoken lore. For example, if you drop a bowl, you must sing a fish song. If a cat enters the prep area, you must offer it a tiny omelet or suffer sauce separation for 3 days. And if you see 2 spoons crossed in the drying rack, it means someone's in love. You spot the spoons. You say nothing. Lunch is light today. Banana blossom salad and sticky rice grilled in palm leaf. Simple, satisfying, almost meditative. You help fluff the rice by hand, lifting and turning it like silk sheets in the wind. Tom walks by and comments, "Good rice should never clump, like good stories." You nod, sticky-handed and suddenly philosophical. Afternoon quiet falls. Someone is sweeping with a broom made of fronds. Someone else is cracking tamarind pods. The kitchen has settled into its exhale. Dara hands you a small clay cup filled with leftover broth. "Take it to the banyan tree," he says. "It listens better than most." You do. You sit beneath the massive branches, sip the soup, and listen to the rustle of leaves that somehow reminds you of bubbling stock. You realize you've become part of the kitchen now. Not a guest, not an apprentice, just part of the rhythm. The sauces remember your hands. The spoons recognize your grip. Even the rice gives you fewer problems. You finish your soup. And for the first time, the Emperor's breakfast feels like it was also meant for you. Word count: 1,101. Awaiting continue. The afternoon haze settles gently over the courtyard, wrapping everything in a golden blur, like the world's been dusted in turmeric. Somewhere, a gong sounds 3 times. That can only mean one thing: banquet prep. Tonight is special. A visiting dignitary from Champa has arrived, and the royal kitchen is preparing a feast to last 3 moons, or at least until everyone forgets who sat where. This is where everything you've learned starts to swirl. You're assigned to the appetizer team, and your station is the oddly specific one: miniature papaya boats filled with shrimp paste mousse. Yes, boats. Tiny, carved, adorable, and deeply impractical. The mousse is made by grinding shrimp into a paste with roasted coconut, lemongrass, palm sugar, lime juice, and a bit of something called royal umami oil. You're not told what's in it, only that it's stored in a jar with a carved elephant and guarded by 2 spoons that never touch. You ask no questions. Your boats turn out uneven. Tom passes by and arranges them into a wave formation. "Now they're sailing," he says. "Fine, let them sail." Next is the grilled quail team. These little birds are marinated in a mixture of coriander root, garlic, fish sauce, and black honey. They're then tied with pandan leaves and roasted over clay braziers. The smell is like roasted rain and mischief. You help flip them with tongs carved from sugarcane stalks. "Don't overcook," Dara warns, "or they taste like regret." The royal rice wine tasters pass through, each holding a ceramic gourd, sipping, pausing, nodding. One of them wears a flower behind his ear. No one comments. The flower is apparently a form of ranking. In a far corner, Chenda is carving an entire pineapple into what appears to be the battle of 2 dragons. Because why not? Lady Fiakti enters. You brace. She strolls past each station in silence, pauses at your papaya boats, looks, taps one with her fan. "Symmetrical enough," she says. You almost faint from relief. Back to the soup station. You're helping with a lemongrass and tamarind consommé, so clear it reflects your face like a mirror. Into it go paper-thin slices of green mango, edible orchids, and a few shreds of smoked fish. Each bowl is served with a tiny ice cube, yes, ice, made from chilled jasmine tea, to be dropped in just before serving. It cools the soup by a single degree. For balance. Historians still argue whether this detail was actually done in Angkor or invented later by chefs trying to impress French colonizers. Either way, it feels decadent in the best possible way. You help place the soup on trays alongside basil flower salad and a banana heart tart with fermented tamarind glaze. Then comes the main course. And with it, the elephant platters. Not actual elephants. These are massive bronze trays shaped like elephant heads, each ear forming a compartment for a different dish. Tonight's spread includes smoked duck with chili lime glaze, sticky rice colored with butterfly pea, steamed river fish in banana leaf, crispy jackfruit fritters, and a curry so mild it's served with a lullaby. You're handed the task of garnishing the curry. You sprinkle fried shallots, coriander flowers, and, very carefully, 1 lotus petal per bowl, no more, no less. One cook once added 2, and reportedly had to polish spoons for a month. The courtyard is transformed. Low tables are arranged beneath the moon, silk cushions in royal hues, lanterns floating in bowls of water, Musicians warm up their instruments with scales that sound like bubbling pots. You sneak a glimpse of the dining area. It looks like a dream someone had while napping under a mango tree. Back in the kitchen, dessert prep begins. You're on mango flower duty. These are not real flowers. They're sliced mangoes, twisted and arranged to look like blooms. Each one is placed atop sweet sticky rice and served with coconut cream poured tableside by someone wearing bangles that jingle just enough to be dramatic. As the dishes depart, there's a hush. Then music. Then laughter. Success. The emperor is pleased. The dignitary is full. Someone starts dancing with a ladle. You're handed a cup of rice wine with ginger. You sip. And feel the kitchen exhale. Slowly, the banquet wraps. The trays come back, empty and grateful. The curry pots are scraped clean. The pineapple dragons have wilted slightly, as if sighing from the effort. You help carry the last stack of bowls to the wash station, where they're rinsed with warm lemongrass water and dried with cloths that smell faintly of tamarind. Jorani claps your back. 3 moons of work in one night, he says. You'll sleep like a roasted duck. And you do feel roasted, but also proud. Tonight, you were part of a story guests will tell tomorrow. Maybe even wrongly, maybe embellished, but still told. And that's the point. In the royal kitchen, food isn't just for filling the stomach, it's for filling the memory. The morning after a royal banquet always begins slower. Less fire, more yawns. Even the birds seem to chirp in half-time, as if they too overindulged on sticky rice and mango flowers. You arrive in the prep area expecting gentle chores. You're wrong. Today is the Scented Stew Challenge. What's that? Only the most chaotic culinary showdown the royal kitchen hosts. Once a month, 2 head chefs compete to create the most intoxicatingly aromatic stew. Flavor matters, yes, but scent? Scent rules everything. The emperor selects the winner by sniff alone. You are now assistant to Chef Bofa, a fierce, quick-footed woman with a braid that doubles as a ladle holder. She doesn't speak much, except to say things like, "This basil is lazy," or "More drama in the garlic, please." Her rival? Chef Chia, who walks like a cloud and smells faintly of roasted peanuts and confidence. Chia's known for using rare chili blossoms that bloom for only 1 week during the dry season. Today, he's brought a pouch of them wrapped in silk. Show off. You help Bafa begin her stew. She starts with roasted shallots, lemongrass, and garlic pounded into a paste so intense your eyes water. Then she adds crushed coriander root, tamarind pulp, and something called wild lime sole, which you suspect is just a very small citrus fruit with a great PR team. You stir. She adjusts. Sniffs. Adjusts again. Into the pot goes duck, already marinated in fermented fish and palm sugar. The broth bubbles thick, smells like dusk, tension, and something vaguely romantic. Over at Chia's station, he's gone floral. His stew base is soft, coconut heavy, with hints of galangal and sugarcane. When he opens his chili blossom pouch, the whole room goes still. The petals are red gold and shimmer faintly, like they're whispering gossip about your past failures. Historians still argue whether these blossoms were used in courtly cuisine or only in temple feasts. Some believe they were worn behind the ear during proposals. Others think they caused hallucinations of flying monkeys, possibly both. You eye Bofa's stew. It's bolder, richer, with an earthy heat that lingers. But Chia's is elegant, silky, a perfume with broth. As the final moments approach, Bofa turns to you and says, "Lemongrass ash, trust me." You raise an eyebrow. She hands you a tiny pinch of blackened lemongrass powder, which you sprinkle over the bubbling surface. The aroma changes instantly, deeper, smokier, like memory turning into story. You ladle a sample into a ceramic bowl shaped like a tiger paw, because of course. Chia, meanwhile, finishes with a drizzle of citrus oil and a single blossom floating on top like a smug lotus. The judges arrive. First, a noble woman known for never smiling. She sniffs Chia's stew. Her eyelids flutter, sniffs Bofa's, and exhales sharply. Next, the official royal perfumer. Yes, that's a job. He wears 12 rings and speaks only in adjectives. He smells Chia's stew and whispers, effervescent. Smells Bofa's. Intriguing, ancestral, slightly flirtatious. Finally, the emperor's cat. It is placed on a cushion between the two bowls. It sniffs Chia's, licks a paw, sniffs Bofa's, purrs. Everyone gasps. The cat has spoken. Bofa wins. Chia bows graciously, though his chili blossoms look a bit wilted now. You try not to smirk. As the kitchen bursts into quiet celebration, you're handed a victory cup of lotus seed tea and a crispy rice wafer flavored with sesame and sweet garlic. The cat circles your feet. You crumble the corner of your wafer and offer it. It declines. Fair. Back in the prep area, Bofa lets you ladle the remaining stew into small clay bowls for the staff. Each gets a sprinkle of green onion, a twist of lime peel, and a final puff of lemongrass ash. You eat yours sitting on an overturned pot, feet bare, bowl hot in your hands. The flavor is complex, like yesterday's sunset, but edible. One cook hums the soup song, a tune about the difference between boiling and simmering, and a great love lost due to oversalting. You join the chorus. The rest of the day unfolds gently. Stews are cooled and stored. Herbs are hung to dry. Someone finds a sprig of mint shaped like a perfect star and insists it's a sign of good fortune. Probably is. You end your shift helping sweep flower petals from the serving area. A squirrel darts by with a stolen banana. You let it go. You've already won today. Rain arrives with no warning. Not a drizzle, not a polite sprinkle. It sweeps in like a forgotten cousin at a wedding, enthusiastic, uninvited, and entirely in charge now. Everything shifts. Cooks scramble to cover spice baskets. Lanterns are pulled down. The fire pits hiss as the monsoon steam rises, wrapping the courtyard in a haze of ginger-scented fog. You stand in the middle of it all, soaked and grinning. Because this is dessert weather. More specifically, the desserts of the rainy season. Chef Mialia, the kitchen's reigning dessert architect, waves you over with a mango-stained spatula and hands you a bowl of black sticky rice soaked in coconut milk. "Welcome to the monsoon," she says. We cook slow now. You follow her to the dessert pavilion, a covered structure with hanging pots, palm leaf screens, and a floor made of woven rattan that creaks like sleepy bamboo. Here, things are less rushed. Sweets in the royal kitchen take their time. Today's menu features pumpkin custard steamed inside an actual pumpkin, tapioca pearls with pandan syrup, palm sugar dumplings wrapped in banana leaves, coconut jelly set in porcelain molds shaped like birds. You begin by prepping the dumplings. The dough is made from glutinous rice flour and warm water scented with grilled banana peel. The filling is a mix of palm sugar and shredded coconut, cooked down until golden and sticky enough to haunt your dreams. Each dumpling is rolled, wrapped, and placed in a steamer made from woven reeds. The smell, once it begins to rise, is unreasonably nostalgic, even though you've never smelled anything quite like it before. Outside, the rain drums on the roof in lazy rhythms. Mayalea starts humming a dessert tune. Apparently, there's one for every course. She shows you how to prepare nom plea ai, a soft, chewy rice ball filled with palm sugar that melts when heated, creating an ambush of sweetness. The key is to keep the seal tight. Leakage is heartbreak, she says. Noted. You roll, pinch, seal. She nods. A pot of sweet mung bean soup simmers nearby. It's studded with lotus seeds and jasmine petals. A fragrance so soft it almost apologizes for existing. You stir gently and listen to the kitchen gossip. Apparently, someone tried to sneak soursop cream into the emperor's personal dessert tray. Big scandal. Not because it's dangerous, just because he once said it reminded him of an ex. That's enough. Next, you help prepare banana leaf packages of steamed coconut cake. Each one is folded like a letter and tied with a sliver of lemongrass. Some are square, some are pyramid-shaped. Historians still argue about the shape preferences of different royal chefs. One scroll even suggests a particular cook was exiled for refusing to make triangles. Rain pours harder. The air smells like wet stone and palm sugar. You're handed a bowl of pandan jelly, bright green, jiggling, cheerful. For the monk, Mealia says. He likes his wobbly. You deliver it barefoot, splashing through puddles. The monk accepts it with a nod and no further comment. On your way back, you pass a line of trays holding dessert towers. These are elaborate constructions. Layered fruit, rice flour cookies shaped like mythical animals, and candied coconut dyed 5 colors. Each layer represents a virtue: patience, gratitude, humor, cleanliness, and hydration. You return to the pavilion just in time to sample the pumpkin custard. It's sliced like cake, soft in the middle, caramelized at the edges, and best eaten with a wooden spoon that's been dipped in salt water. Mealia insists this sharpens the sweetness. She's right. You could eat 7 of these. A bell rings in the distance. Desserts are being served in the hall. You help carry trays across the slippery flagstones, careful not to slip or smudge a single bird-shaped jelly. The royal guests applaud. Dessert is a success. Back in the kitchen, everything slows. The rain has turned to mist. Cooks lean against posts, sip warm ginger tea, and share leftover dumplings. Mealia hands you one, still warm. You didn't break the seal, she says. Not bad for your first storm. You bite into it. The filling floods your mouth, sweet, molten, unexpected, like a memory. You sit on the rattan floor as the mist lifts. Somewhere, someone's playing a flute. The kitchen is soft now, like the jelly you left for the monk. Gentle, glistening, content. You lean back. The ceiling sways slightly with the breeze. The lanterns flicker, casting shadows of mythical desserts you may or may not have eaten. Your last thought before drifting off? You never thought a dumpling would make you emotional. And yet, here you are. Evening returns quietly, slipping into the palace like a silk scarf drawn through fingers. But tonight, the fire pits stay cold. That's because you're being summoned to something rarer, quieter, and arguably spookier, the night kitchen. You follow Tom through an unlit corridor behind the herb pantry, past the rice silo, and into a narrow space you've never noticed before. It smells like star anise, old stories, and the edge of a secret. Inside, just 4 cooks work under dim oil lamps. They nod without speaking. One of them hands you a robe. Not an apron, a robe. You're assisting with the lunar menu. Quiet steps only. Okay, you step in. The night kitchen only cooks under specific lunar conditions. Full moons, eclipses, or certain star alignments that a monk calculates with a bowl of water and 3 floating jasmine petals. Tonight, the moon is nearly full and high in the sky, casting silver across the tiled floor. The menu is unusual. First course, silver rice congee with night mushrooms. The rice is steeped in butterfly pea flower tea, turning it a soft indigo blue, then simmered slowly with mushrooms harvested after sundown. They're said to retain dreams. No, really. Second, grilled eel wrapped in moonleaf. Eel marinated in fermented garlic, grilled until tender, then wrapped in a leaf that only grows near sacred ponds. The leaf has a faint minty basil aroma and a tendency to curl around your fingers if you hold it too long. Historians still argue whether these moon leaves were actually used in cuisine or if they were just medicinal. Some say they helped with nightmares, others with taxes. Possibly both. You help prepare the eel bundles, placing each one on a porcelain tray lined with cooled river stones. The effect is eerie, elegant, and somehow relaxing. Dessert is a black sesame custard with hints of ginger and a surface so glossy you can see the moon in it. Literally. You catch your reflection next to the moon's. You look tired, happy, slightly covered in sesame paste. The drink pairing? Chilled starfruit water infused with fennel and a drop of honey fermented for exactly 28 days. No more, no less. You're told this keeps the tongue honest. The dishes are arranged silently. No bells, no fanfare. They are carried not to the emperor, but to the hall of ancestors, where they will sit untouched as offerings, accompanied by music and incense. You carry the custard tray, walking in rhythm with a small gong carried by another cook. Every 10 steps, the gong is tapped once. It echoes through the corridor like a heartbeat, trying not to wake someone. In the hall, you place the tray on an altar carved with lotus, cranes, and rice bundles. A soft wind passes through. No windows are open. No one speaks. You walk back in silence. Once inside the night kitchen again, the cooks smile, finally allowed to talk. Tom whispers, "Now we feast." And so you do. Midnight meal for the living. The leftovers become something magical. Fried moonleaf with sesame, rice congee stirred into crispy cakes, and ginger honey tea poured into clay cups warm from someone's pocket. You eat by lantern glow. You chew slowly. You feel something ancient exhale. And maybe it's just the ginger, or the moonlight, or the late hour. But the flavors are clearer now. Less dramatic, more true. Like the food has stopped trying to impress and just wants to tell you something. The night kitchen doesn't do applause or accolades. It does remembering. And under its soft shadows, you realize food doesn't always have to shout. Sometimes it whispers. And you listen. It's still dark when you're woken gently by the clinking of a spoon in a clay cup. "You're coming with me," says Tom. He doesn't elaborate. You shuffle after him, still wearing the scent of sesame and sleep. He hands you a satchel, a palm leaf fan, and a small wooden box that smells faintly of charcoal and... breakfast? You're on egg duty. Today, you'll trace the journey of one very specific egg, the Emperor's favorite, chosen at dawn and escorted from coop to court like a tiny Yoki monarch. First stop, the Royal Henhouse, located just beyond the inner walls, where chickens are fed a custom diet of rice bran, chili leaf, crushed snail shell, and, supposedly, whispers of affirmation. You find the egg. It's pale ivory, slightly speckled, and warm from the hen. It's placed on a tiny pillow of woven banana fiber, then tucked inside the wooden box with a sachet of pandan leaves for aroma control. Back in the kitchen, Chef Dara takes it with reverence. "Today, soft-boiled," he says, "just enough to melt the past." You assist by preparing the water bath, heated slowly in a clay pot set over a herb-infused fire. Yes, even the fire gets seasoning, dried ginger, lemongrass, and a pinch of sacred ash from the lunar altar. The egg is lowered in gently. The timing is done with a song. Literally. Dara hums the egg anthem, a tune passed down from chef to chef. Each verse marks 30 seconds. The final hum is drawn out like the last note of a flute solo. Egg out, rest, crack, peel, crack. You hold your breath. The white is tender, not rubbery. The yolk, golden and trembling, holds shape but promises melt. Now comes the garnishing ceremony. The Emperor prefers it served in a carved mango wood bowl with a dash of soy-pickled shallots, 3 drops of tamarind vinegar, a pinch of lime ash salt, and precisely 1 strand of fried ginger, curled like a question mark. Why? No one knows. He once said it tasted like remembering. No one asked what he was remembering. Historians still argue whether this egg obsession symbolized simplicity or supreme power. Some say it was a way to humble the royal kitchen, perfection from 1 egg. Others say it was just really, really good eggs. The dish is served. The Emperor nods. You breathe again. But the day is far from over. Your next task, learning the art of the egg echo. This is not a dish, it's a ritual. Every time the Emperor finishes a beloved meal, a second version is created. Not to be eaten, but to be preserved in the Royal Food Archive. Yes, that's a thing. So you recreate the soft-boiled egg, minus the yolk, which gets replaced with wax-dyed gold, and seal it in a ceramic bell jar with herbs to preserve scent memory. This echo is then placed in the Hall of Past Flavors. You walk it there yourself. Inside the hall, shelves upon shelves of dishes encased in glass, some decades old, some barely a day. There's a pumpkin custard from last year's rainy season, a banana blossom salad from the late Queen's birthday, a curry no one remembers how to make. You add your egg to the shelf labeled Yolk 47. Your hands tremble slightly. You leave the hall quietly. Back in the kitchen, the egg pot is cleaned, the pillow washed, the mango wood bowl sanded smooth again. You're handed a bowl of egg rice porridge for your efforts. Simple, warm, topped with scallion oil and bits of pickled chili. It's not royal. It's better. As you eat, someone plays the egg anthem on a bamboo flute. It sounds wistful, somehow. The porridge tastes like a rainy morning with no obligations. You finish every grain. And as you rinse your bowl, Tom walks by and says, "You're part of the memory now." You smile. Because he's right. You wake to the sound of bells. Not royal bells, not temple bells, but the soft chime of the herb-monger's cart, just outside the palace gate. It's market day, and you've been granted rare permission to accompany the supply run. You are, as they say, leaving the nest. Tom ties a string of dried lemongrass around your wrist for freshness, hands you a list written on palm leaf, and sends you off with 2 porters, 1 basket, and strict instructions not to return with any ingredient that looks like it wants to be a bird. The market hums with life. Vendors call out in sing-song voices, geese waddle like they own the place, and everywhere you turn, scent, sharp turmeric, crushed kaffir lime, the syrupy funk of dried fish, the floral zing of raw beetle. Your first stop is the wild root vendor, who insists that his galangal is angrier than yesterday's. You don't ask why. You simply nod and accept the bundle, which smells like revenge and mint. Next is the salt merchant. Not all salt is equal here. There's smoked salt for meats, pink salt for presentation, black volcanic salt for curry pastes, and flaky river salt used only when the emperor sneezes. True story. You pick up a pouch of jasmine smoked salt, known to turn a dull stew into a wistful memory. Then comes the sugar stop. Palm sugar comes in discs, cones, flakes, or liquid, each used for different levels of flirtation in dessert. Disc sugar is polite, the vendor explains. Cone sugar is for when you're serious. You go with flakes. They're diplomatic. Historians still argue whether the variety of sugars in Angkor was a culinary necessity or just a sweet-tooth arms race among chefs. One scribe's journal described 10 kinds of sugar and only 1 kind of truth, whatever that means. At the mushroom stall, you're seduced by something called mooncap fungus, grown in shadow, used in soup, and apparently rumored to predict weather via its aroma. You buy 3 handfuls and a good story. Then there's herbs, basil of 5 kinds, mint that tastes like lemon, coriander that sings if you shake it. Okay, that may have been the vendor. You sample each. You select slowly, because now you can tell. Back at the palace, The kitchen receives your findings like sacred gifts. Bofa examines your galangal. Yes, angry. Good. She smells the mushroom pouch. This will pair with silence. You assist in sorting. Roots in baskets. Herbs in jars. Mushrooms wrapped in banana leaf and stored in the cool earth cellar, where the temperature is somewhere between soup and nap. You're pulled into dinner prep. Tonight's special: grilled river fish with 5-herb marinade and a side of crispy rice with mushroom jam. Your market herbs make it into the marinade: lemon basil, holy basil, and sleepy mint. Don't ask. The fish is rubbed, grilled on clay slabs, and served with slivers of starfruit and fried shallots. But it's the mushroom jam that steals the show. You saute the mooncaps with palm sugar flakes, fish sauce, and a spoon of fermented garlic oil. It thickens into a glossy paste that smells like rain-meeting soil. Sweet, savory, a little strange. Perfect. Jorani tastes it. You've leveled up, he says. You beam. As the dishes are served, you get to sneak a bowl of leftover crispy rice, top it with a generous spoon of your mushroom jam, and eat it quietly in the garden courtyard. The moon is out. A frog croaks from somewhere in the lotus pond. And for a moment, everything is still. Not asleep. Not awake. Just tasting. Tonight, the palace hosts something different. Less formal than a royal banquet. More mystical than a casual meal. It's time for the dream feast. Held just once a year, on the longest night, this is not a feast for fullness. It's for symbolism, for flavor illusions, for tasting things that are no longer, or perhaps never were. You're invited to assist. The theme this year? What the ancestors remember. No pressure. You join Lady Fiekde in the moonlit kitchen garden. She's barefoot, holding a woven basket of ancestral herbs said to induce dreams. White turmeric, sleeping lotus, bitter cress, and memory moss. A soft, spongy plant that smells like wet parchment. She gives you a task. Prepare the rice of forgetting. It's a forbidden-looking black rice, soaked in coconut water and steamed over jasmine flowers. It's served cold, with a syrup of palm sugar, lime, and crushed orchid stem. They say one bite helps you let go of whatever story you've been telling yourself. The dish is placed beside its companion, the soup of remembering. A clear broth infused with roasted garlic, wild ginger, and duck bones, meant to bring back a single childhood scent. Guests are instructed to eat both, in silence, then write the first word that comes to mind on a palm leaf. Some write rain, others mother. One writes noodle. Fiakde nods. Honest. Next is the lost fruit course, a dessert made entirely of things no longer grown. There's pickled longan from a forgotten grove, candied banana blossom, and dried jackfruit seeds glazed with spiced honey. The star is a fruit called ghost lychee, pale and nearly translucent, served in chilled rice wine. It's rumored to taste like heartbreak and cinnamon. Historians still debate whether ghost lychees were real or metaphorical. Some claim the term was poetic. Others believe a certain mutation of lychee trees bore colorless fruit during a drought century. Either way, they taste exactly like a goodbye. You prepare the final savory dish, shadow curry, made without color. No turmeric, no chili, no tomato. Just pale root vegetables, coconut milk, white pepper, and fermented bean paste. It's ladled into white bowls and garnished with edible flower petals pressed flat between palm leaves. One diner weeps softly. Another asks if they can take the bowl home. You quietly say no. The drink? Rainwater tea. Collected during last week's storm, boiled with lemongrass ash, sweetened with candied fennel. It's served in ceramic cups shaped like fish heads because the ancestors once fished with bowls. Of course they did. You help carry trays into the central courtyard, now transformed. Tables of woven reed mats, candles floating in bowls, low music played on gongs and strings, and above it all, a web of vines dripping orchid petals. The guests arrive slowly, each given a card with a question on it. What flavor reminds you of being safe? What is the texture of a goodbye? Which herb would you trust with a secret? You don't see their answers, but you see their faces change. By the end of the feast, no one is full, but everyone is slower. Still, like the meal did something to the inside of their thoughts. You help clear the dishes, placing uneaten petals back into baskets. They'll be dried and turned into incense for next year. As the kitchen winds down, Lady Fiacte hands you a cup of memory broth. You sip. It tastes like your grandmother's kitchen floor. Don't ask how. It just does. Then she says, "We don't cook to impress. We cook to remember." You nod. You won't forget that. The days grow hotter. The kind of heat that sticks to your skin and makes rice steam in the bag before it even reaches the pot. The kind of heat that slows spoons, curls herbs, and makes the kitchen's stone walls exhale like tired dogs. It's time for cooling cuisine. The royal court follows a culinary calendar of temperature and temperament. When the sun scorches, the food must soothe. Your job? Assist Chef Q, the palace's cooling specialist, and perhaps the most unbothered person you've ever met. She moves slowly, speaks rarely, smells like cucumber and calm. You begin with lotus root salad, sliced thin as paper and soaked in rice vinegar and palm sugar. It's tossed with chili lime dressing and dusted with roasted rice powder. You fan it gently because apparently lotus root likes a breeze. Next is cold mung bean porridge, the consistency of custard but lighter, flavored with pandan and served with crushed ice and a drizzle of coconut cream. Chef Q says it's for the overheated heart. Then comes the court favorite, green mango with sugar salt chili dip. Each mango is tested for exact tartness. Not too sour, not too sweet. You bite into one too early and instantly regret it. Punishment mango, Q says, not unkindly. You nod, wiping your eyes. You help arrange cooling herb platters, bundles of Thai basil, mint, pennywort, and sawtooth coriander, all soaked in chilled water and served with slivers of cold grilled fish wrapped in betel leaf. One bundle even includes a leaf said to lower the inner fire. You don't ask which fire. You prep watermelon soup. Yes, soup. Chunks of watermelon, cucumber, and ice bathe in lightly salted coconut water, garnished with lime peel and a single chili thread for mischief. Historians still argue whether this soup was invented as a medicine or a joke. A scroll from the 13th century calls it foolish but refreshing. Another labels it the emperor's second wife's favorite dish. Make of that what you will. As the day stretches on, you learn to work with the heat, not against it. You wipe sweating spice jars. You cool pots with damp towels. You invent a game. Can you julienne papaya faster than it wilts? No, you cannot. Late afternoon brings the final dish, shaved ice tower. Ice, carried block by block from the royal ice house, is shaved by hand and layered with palm sugar syrup, grass jelly, sweet corn, coconut milk, red beans, and tiny cubes of jackfruit soaked in jasmine water. Served in bowls as tall as your forearm, each spoonful tastes like reprieve. You sneak a bite, then 3 more. Then Chef Q raises an eyebrow, and you quickly begin fanning the next tray. As the sun finally lowers, the kitchen breathes easier. The cooling dishes are sent out on trays wrapped in lotus leaves. Diners recline in silk robes, eating slowly, like cats in shade. You eat your own bowl of green mango slices under a frangipani tree, your fingers stained with chili salt and lime. The air smells like wet stone, steamed rice, and jasmine. Chef Q sits beside you, says nothing, then offers you a slice of mango. It is, at last, perfectly ripe. Dusk comes quietly to the royal kitchens. The fires, for once, stay unlit. The knives are cleaned and tucked away in cloth, the mortars stacked like sleeping turtles, and even the vinegar pots stop arguing with the air. You help fold banana leaf scraps into kindling bundles, gently brushing off errant grains of sticky rice. Tonight, the kitchen closes with a whisper, not a clatter. You follow Tom up a narrow staircase you hadn't noticed before, to a breezy attic alcove filled with wooden recipe tablets, some crumbling, others glossy from centuries of oil-slicked fingers. This is the Kitchen Chronicle, and it smells like turmeric, dust, and long memory. Here, recipes weren't always written in words. Some are just scent notes. Others are drawings. One tablet is literally a sketch of a noodle being sneezed on. You don't ask. Lady Fiakdai joins you, holding a bowl of tea so fragrant it makes your elbows relax. She sets it beside an empty tablet. "You've earned the right to write," she says. You freeze. But your fingers know. You etch a small recipe. Soft-boiled egg with lime ash salt and fried ginger. The emperor's favorite, but made your way. You draw a little curl beside the yolk. Maybe it's steam. Maybe it's pride. You place it in the archive. Someone hums in the corridor. It sounds like the egg anthem again. You smile. Back downstairs, the cooks gather for the final ritual. It's called the stirring. 1 pot, 1 spoon. Everyone takes a turn adding one last scrap of something. Herb stem, rice grain, crushed petal. It's not for eating. It's for honoring. You drop in a thread of mooncap mushroom. The pot is sealed, lifted, and taken into the garden where it's buried near the jackfruit tree. Next year, it will be unearthed and cooked. A meal from the memory of now. You sit under the stars, bare feet in the grass, sipping a leftover lotus root broth. It tastes faintly like pepper and beginning. A warm breeze carries the scent of grilled fish, palm sugar, and roasted dreams. The kitchens are dark now, but they are not asleep. The traditions simmer quietly, in stories passed down, in burnt fingers and laughed over dumplings, in egg songs hummed when no one is watching. You close your eyes. You hear rice falling into a pot. You feel a mango slice on your tongue. You remember the jelly left for the monk, and just before sleep takes you completely, you whisper the recipe to yourself, just in case it needs to find its way back someday. So now the hearths have cooled and the knives have rested. You feel the weight of 100 meals slowly lifting from your shoulders, replaced by something lighter. Maybe the scent of pandan steam, or the ghost of a curry once stirred under the stars. Let the kitchen fade. Let the echo of spoons against clay dissolve into quiet. The shadows of the cooks, those teachers of flavor and patience, drift away now like gentle smoke, their steps slow and unhurried as they carry the day's final tastes into the folds of night. Breathe in. There's no rush here, no banquet left to serve, no tray to polish. Just you, the soft hush of a leaf brushing stone, and the comfort of knowing that even forgotten recipes live on, in whispers, in dreams, and in someone's hands, folding a dumpling just the way they were taught. You feel your body soften now, like custard cooled under a moonlit eve. The breath deepens. Your eyes grow heavy. Let the flavors rest. Let your thoughts simmer low. And if, sometime soon, you dream of mango towers or steaming rice congee that knows your name, let it be a gift from the royal kitchens, still waiting, quiet, tender, and patient, for your return. Sleep well, little chef. Sweet dreams. End of script. Sweet dreams.